have a bio exam coming up and I don't understand the mechanisms of evolution. Can you help me out?
Yeah, I think about the mechanisms of evolution like the 5 fingers on a hand to help me remember them.
Okay, what is the first finger?
You can think of the pinky as genetic drift because it's small and doesn't have a huge impact on evolution. It's the change in the frequency of a gene variant in the population due to random sampling of organisms. The alleles in the offspring are a sample of those in the parents, and chance plays a role in determining whether an individual survives and reproduces. If you look at the beetle example, the allelic frequency of brown and green beetles shifted in the population due to random events, in this case being stepped on.
Oh, I get it now. So what is the ring finger then?
It's non-random mating, and you can remember this because people wear wedding rings on their ring fingers. Non-random mating occurs when the probability that 2 individuals in a population will mate is not the same for all possible pairs of mates.
Okay, so for example, random mating would be when a beetle randomly mates with another beetle, but non-random mating is when a beetle chooses to mate with another beetle due to certain traits.
Yes, that's correct. It basically means to mate with whomever you choose.
So let me guess, the middle finger is mutation because they both start with M?
Right. Evolution by mutation occurs whenever there's a mistake in the DNA of heritable cells in an organism.
That's confusing. Can you give me an example?
For example, the turtle in the slide has 2 heads due to a mistake in its DNA sequence. Mutations like this occur randomly all the time, and while some of them are beneficial to the individual, most are detrimental.
And what's the pointer finger?
The pointer finger is gene flow because you can move your index finger in many directions. Gene flow is when individuals from one population migrate to another population.
So if individuals move to the environment of another population, it's gene flow.
That's the basic idea. But specifically, the alleles from one population will transfer to the allele pool of the other population. At first, offspring will only be carriers of certain traits, but eventually there will be so much overlap that the allele frequencies of both populations will become the same.
So that leaves natural selection for the thumb.
Yep, natural selection is the most important of them all. The environment favors certain traits and exerts pressure on the population, allowing only certain phenotypes to survive.
I remember reading about Darwin's finches. Those with big beaks could crack open big seeds, but the finches with little beaks could only crack open smaller seeds. So after the drought, when there were only big seeds on the island, the big-beaked finches survived, exhibiting a higher Darwinian fitness.
You got it down. So one thing about natural selection, just because an organism wants to become something else doesn't mean it will try and eventually get there. For example, Lamarck's giraffe. He predicted that if the giraffe kept stretching its neck, it would become longer and then stay that way. But what actually happened is that one giraffe had the mutation for a longer neck and ended up being better suited for its environment, passing this gene to its children. Thus, longer necks grew to become the new norm for giraffes.
So natural selection is not driven by an inner need.
You know what? I think you're ready for the exam.
Wow, thank you so much for your help. I think I'm going to get an A.